What's up? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another session of Coffee and Martial Arts. Salud, 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 cheers. Yes, and today, sir, we have an amazing show for you. Yes, we have a great special guest, a living legend. I know he's going to kill me for everything I'm going to say right now, but it doesn't matter. He is the man of the hour, and he's been in the martial arts for many, many years, doing an amazing job promoting the arts, perpetuating the legacy, and taking the arts to a lot of people, to bringing the arts together, going beyond the style, going beyond the system, and just reaching to the community and generating a positive movement for everybody to join. Okay, I am talking about Hanshi Bruce Juchnik. Okay, so he is with us today. He is the founder of the Sei Kosho Shorei International. He is the keeper of the legacy and the heir of the late Grandmaster James Masayoshi Mitose, okay? And he is a big influencer in the arts. And every year since 1981, he has been doing what he calls the Gathering, which is an amazing event that gathers martial artists from all over the world, masters and students and practitioners and many people. I've been there several times. And it's just an amazing event that you want to go, that you don't want to miss. You want to be a part of this, okay? So Mr. Juchnik is a great gentleman, okay? And he really, really cares, okay? So he's going to be talking to us today. But before we go there, let me just say that we are going live through our Facebook page, Master Frank Soto Kinetic Dragon. Please follow us there, click there. That really, really helps. Click like, okay? We're also going live through the Internacional Hall of Fame, Internacional with a Z because it's in Argentina. The International Hall of Fame of Argentina, they have a magazine, and they're a nice group of amazing martial artists that are doing, their thing, promoting the arts down south and internationally, okay? So we're also going live through our YouTube channel, the Kinetic Dragon channel. Please like and subscribe and click on the little bell there so you get notified when we are going live. Okay, so without further ado, let's bring in the legend, the man, Hanshi Bruce Juchnik. Hello, sir.
How are you doing, Frank? How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for accepting the invitation. It's an honor. Okay. Can you hear me well, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. Perfect. Thank you. So it's nice to have you here, sir, today. Okay, we're gonna be just doing the interview, the dynamics. We have an hour to talk about whatever it is that you want. Okay, and please, if you can share, I always ask our guests to start with a briefly introduction. I'm saying briefly because the hour wouldn't be enough. Mm-hmm. But just how is it that you start with the martial arts and that got you to where you are today? So people that don't have the honor or pleasure of knowing you, they can know a little bit about you, sir.
I started in martial arts around 1964, between 64 and 65. The first style I started with was Tang Soo Murakwan. From Tang Soo, went briefly to Shotokan Karate, and then I went to Kempo Karate, as we would know it as the Parker Tracy legacy. And I stayed with that for quite a few years. You want me to keep going, Frank? Yeah, okay. During that period of time, I had I used to fight a lot of tournaments. I did a lot of that. And some of the people that I got on a learning curve, and it was because of a guy named Danny Inosanto. Danny was the first cousin of a guy that I came up in Kempo with by the name of Pas Fidel. And Danny, when he started with a guy named Angel Cabales, and he contacted Pas and said, Pas, you and Bruce ought to go down and check out Stockton, California. We got this Filipino art called Eskrima. So Pas and I would go down to Stockton. So Danny, I'm not sure, but I think Danny was with Cabales not that long before myself. So I stayed with Cabales from 1973 to 1976. Now, during that period of time, I got on a kick about wanting to learn why things happen. So I would get up in the morning. This was about, I'd say twice a week. And I'd drive to San Francisco from Sacramento. I'd watch the sun come up. I was working with a guy named Guolin Ying, and he did Chen style Tai Chi, and I worked some Northern Shaolin. The same day, I took off. We watched the sun come up in the park. I went and saw a guy named Brendan Lai. Brendan Lai, I worked with Mantis, praying mantis system. Same day, went from Brendan's, went to a guy named George Longs. And George Longs will be up on that wall this year. George Longs was white crane, Tibetan white crane. Same day, I went and saw a guy named Professor Mackey. And he did Hungarian saber fighting. The reason I did that is I found out an Escrimador was defeated by a pay man. Didn't have that pay, but found saber. Well, it was a linear movement. Then I would drive back to Sacramento, and I would get in my car and I'd go to Stockton. And I work with Cabales. Cabales I worked with from 73 to 76. Is this too much? And then I went with, I met a guy, and this is kind of a funny story. I think everybody's heard of Remy Priestess, am I right? I think.
Right.
Well, Rick Alamany, he was the first one I introduced to Mitose. Had contacted me, said, Bruce, would you like to meet Remy Priestess? I said, yeah, bring him down. I was going to fight him. Remy shows up, and he says, Bruce, you do the Filipino arts? Yeah, I do. He says, you show me what you do. I demonstrated everything, Frank, like a dummy. And then I looked at him and I went, you want to play? You know what that means?
Of course.
Fight?
Right.
He said, sure. Well, I became a student. And we started traveling after that. Remy and I, during that period of time, I was introduced to the late James Mitose. And I worked with Mitose. I think a lot of the viewers know what happened to him. But I was the last one to see him alive. And I would go down and see Mitose quite often, as often as I could. And I would learn things that I never understood about Kempo.
Okay.
And he and I became close. And so that's what took place with that. But and you can ask questions about that if you wish.
Yes. Yes.
And then so Mitose died in 1981. That's when I started the gathering. Now, after that period of time, there was another gentleman that stepped in. And this guy was very influential. People don't know this. In the Kempo-related arts. This was Mitose's first student. His name was Robert Trias. People don't understand that. But Trias was the first one. And, you know, Frank, when I found that out, I was in Honolulu with Thomas Young. We're driving down the road. Thomas Young and I became very close. He would have been Mitose's top student. That's a good photo. He would have been Mitose's top student, okay, in the 40s. And I'm driving with Professor Young. I said, how did you and Trias Sensei get so close? He said, Bruce, Trias knew Mitose before Chow, before any of us. And I pulled the car over. He says, is that important? I says, yeah. Told me a lot. Well, Trias, when he was over in Hawaii, okay, he wasn't just a Navy frogman. He was a boxing champion. He was also working somewhat Navy intelligence, okay? So Trias was very influential. And when I met him, yeah, answered a lot of questions about why him and Thomas Young were so close. And they were very close. And Professor Young and I were very close. And I always flash back. I don't know if the stories that I got from Thomas Young, but I think one of the last lessons I had from Professor Young. Do you know about that one, Frank? Frank, do you know about that?
No, sir.
The last lesson I had with Thomas Young?
No,
Thomas
I don't.
Thomas Young called me up one time in Hawaii. He said, Bruce, I'd like you to come out. He said, I want to show you how I train now. Now, students that understand Kosho Ryu or any related movement, I want you to pay attention to this. Now, when your teacher tells you to go do something, you know what you do? You do it.
Yes, sir.
So I got a plane ticket really quick. I flew to Hawaii. Professor Young picks me up, takes me to ballroom dancing. So I went and I'm watching them do ballroom dancing. And as I'm watching, I start smiling. Professor Young says, Bruce, what did you learn? I saw that everybody was moving in harmony. Nobody was stressed. Nobody was intrusive. And yet their movement was all geared naturally. He says, you understand Kosho Ryu. That was my best lesson from Thomas Young. He was a gracious man, a wonderful man. And, I feel very fortunate to have known him and been able to know him. Robert Tria is the same. Robert Tria is the same. These guys, when we have teachers, when we have teachers, it is very important to pay attention to your teachers. Pay attention to what they taught you. They might not all be saints, but they're your teachers. I think of a lot of people that did great things, okay? And speaking of Trias, I just want to bring something up. Robert Trias, he made famous what they call Sanban Kumite, 3-point sparring. You go to any karate tournament, that's what you see, right? They're going for 3 points. That's called Sanban Kumite. Now, Trias made that well known. He had the USK Grand Nationals. The next guy that made use of the 3-point sparring and made it very well known, his name was the great Edmund Parker.
Right.
If it wasn't for Ed Parker, a lot of people would not have been known in the martial arts. And today, when I see all of this stuff, what drives me nuts, Frank, is when I see people not appreciate where they come from. You've got to appreciate where you come from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I love every one of my teachers, every one of them. Mr. Trias is a great man. Mr. Parker is a great man. And Parado, the Kachikels, they're a great man. They're all good. There's bad in them, right?
Right.
I'm no saint, but anyway.
Sure. We're human.
So that's a little bit about my background, a little bit of it.
Amazing.
And then I started the gathering. The gathering, how many different martial artists have been at that? All over. And what breaks my heart is I'm watching them go. They pass on. And I got a lot of memories, 2 of my books, back end of the books that I just did, pictures of all these teachers that are no longer with us. And I have fond memories of every one of them. And okay. So that's kind of my background. Oh my God, you're good. That's one of my books.
That's right.
Yeah, I just did 2 new books too, Frank. I think you know that.
I think so.
And then, of course, I've done videos. I've got about 350 videos out. And if people want to look at that stuff, you look up Warrior Scholar Academy. You look that up on the internet, you'll see all that stuff. My 2 new books and all of that. And the 2 new books I have, one is called Okuden, and it's all strategies. It kind of reads like The Art of War. Okay. The other book that I did is a rewrite of the Falls 7, and that's got to do with the my studying from Mitose, what he must have thought of me and what I thought of him. And in the new rewrite, there's a lot of story in there that I never wrote about. It's in there, and some of it's kind of wild. I've had a wild time learning martial arts, and like I said, I love the martial arts. Everybody I see in the arts, love every one of them. Yeah, I can see you've done your homework, man.
Yeah. Always, sir. Always.
I know you did. I know.
And the whole idea is to show appreciation to everybody that has been for people to understand that, you know, there's a legacy. There is people before us that did their work, that did their part, and that it's up to us to continue this, right?
Yep, you're right. You got to keep those legacies alive, and you have to talk story. You know, you name one of these teachers. Like the first one I introduced to Mitose was Rick Alamany. Rick I talked to quite often, and it's a great man. Alamany I met through the full contact. Remember the full contact karate fights?
Yes, sir.
And I had one of the teams that was Norris had the LA Stars. I had a team. Alamany had a team, and that's how I met Rick. And then Alamany at the same time worked with a lot of different things. That guy is a great martial artist, and he studied directly from Ralph Castro. But Mr. Alamany is a great guy. He's the first one I introduced to Mitose. And I never heard him telling me what it was like. He says the first time I met Mitose, he knew everything I was all about. He knew what I ate. He knew what I was thinking. And that was Mitose. Mitose had a look about him. And a lot of people, you know, because of the controversy, they'll say a lot of things, but they just don't understand. But Rick did. Rick was a good man. Him, Cedeno, a lot of these guys I introduced to Mitose. And it was very good for them. You would have loved to have met him. And Frank,
I would have been honored, for sure.
If you don't mind me saying this, Mitose, if he did not like you, would get up and walk away. He would not have walked away on you.
Thank you, sir.
He would not have. He would have sat and he would listen. Yeah, because he would have seen your heart. I got to stop that. Okay. I won't be that nice. Yeah. So that's kind of the background. The gathering has brought so many different people together. Great martial arts. You name it. I got some of these guys in Hawaii now that are learning from you, and they're. I do this FaceTime thing where I teach privately over the phone, and I'm helping martial artists from all styles and systems, from whether or not it's meridian striking, no matter what it is. I want them to know it. There's no excuse for us as martial artists not to learn what's in front of you. There's no excuse, none. And I'm not bragging about this. Frank, I used to know 280 katas. That's a lot of forms.
That's a lot of forms. That? Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I remember that, yes.
I mean, now, dude, you know, we get this memory thing going, but I used to know 280 katas, different systems. And somebody asked me, why do you want to do that? I says, because they are there. I have no excuse not to. Right. And you name the system or the style, I could probably tell you a lot about them. And at the same time, I have an appreciation and love for all of them, every single one of them. And I want to see all of the arts be preserved. And it's up to the generations now to keep them alive. Don't let those things die. And just like you've seen that Wall of Legends at my gathering.
Yes, sir.
How many plaques are up there? There's about close to 200.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The guys we're putting up this year is a guy named Rod Allo, who studied directly from William Chow. He's going up. Taki Komura, who was one of Bruce Lee's guys. He's going
Right.
up. A guy by the name of Jim Harrison, who was probably one of the top, toughest tournament fighters of all time. He's going up. And there's a few others. There's a guy that came under me named David Champ, who was a healer. And he's the one that formed the AOBTA, American Oriental Body Works Association. And,
Wow.
that's another thing. Everybody doing martial arts should know healing arts. You should know about it. What is it? Healing arts. What's the most dangerous kind of person in the world? It's a bad doctor. So, am I right? Yeah. Okay. So, as you do martial arts, you have your students. I believe that your students, you treat them as if you're a physician. And some students are going to be faster than others. Some are going to be slower. You can adapt everything to them up to a degree. So you don't necessarily have to stomp out a cookie. They're all good. And I learned to look at that. Mitose was that way. Well, Priestess was that way. Remy would, and like I said, the times I spent with Priestess, a lot of people never had those times. I was very lucky. And I traveled all over. And,
Nice.
Kabbalists, all of them. They're all great.
We have some people saying hello. If you don't mind me sharing some of the comments here, sir.
Sure.
Okay. We have Diego Andres Salbucci. Good afternoon, maestros. Salud from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Saludos. International Hall of Fame. Salud, maestros. From Chinese Culture House, Santa Fe, Argentina. Big hug from the heart, Sifu Ernesto Colbrenner. Saludos, Sifu. Maestro Roberto Almagro, excellent interviews. Salutes to two big ones of the martial arts. Respectful salutes from Ecuador. Thank you, sir. Gracias. Saludos, maestro. Seabrook Martial Arts Academy. Salute from London, Ontario, Canada. Hanshi Juchnik. Looking forward to some great stories and memoirs. Thank you. Oh, here's a familiar face. Grandmaster Nathaniel Ortega. Hanshi, it's a history book. I love his section where when he teaches at the gathering that it's the Hall of Fame. Hanshi teaches history to all the big ones in the martial arts. It's fascinating listening to him. Wall of Legends is the name of the section of history, he says. Thank you, sir. My friend Jeff Kolaski, very interesting interview. Salute to the masters. Thank you, sir. Salute. Okay, sir. I wanted to ask you, because I don't think people know, much people don't know this, but by the time you got to meet the late Grandmaster Mitose, you were already a third or fourth degree black belt in Kempo, right? So what were the insights? You know, can you share one thing, just one thing that made you change the way you perceived the art, the way you understood Kempo, that made, you know, that difference in your training and in your life, sir? Please.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll never forget him looking at me. He says, well, you know, because I came from a Kempo background, he says, you think you're fast. I says, huh? He says, you're slow. You strike to the wrong side of the body. I went, huh? And he was striking. Now there's a concept that I teach called striking to the furthest crossbar rotation. So a guy's extending the right hand and you do a block and you do a counter off that side, that hand's already on its way back.
Right.
So the other side's coming closer. Okay. So I started thinking about that. And that was one thing. And then he also told me, he says, I can't use that word, so I won't. He says, everything you do is El Toro Pupo. There you go. And he started teaching me. And, you know, because of where he was, it wasn't as easy as people think, but it was. He taught me about elongation of motion. And I'll never forget this, Frank. One time we were sitting, it was like at like a dinner table, not really, like a picnic table, and there's two chairs, or not chairs, but benches. And I'm sitting behind one, and he's over here. And I do this with my arm. And all of a sudden, my arm's doing this. He reached across and took the crease of my arm and dropped me. Now, here's the thing, Frank. How did he do that? He actually elongated his body by relaxing different muscles. And that arm grew, okay? And he drops me, and I'm going, now I'm just looking at him like, wow, okay? Now what he was doing, he was showing me the understanding pertaining to his version and understanding of Kempo. There's natural laws. You have what we call, okay, I'll just teach a little bit with this. It's called if you were going to call Kempo Karate something other than Kempo Karate, I would call it Shochikubai Kempo, pine bamboo plum. The pine represents your spine, the nerves coming out from the spine. These are things, man. Bamboo, that's your midsection, your rib cage, your internal organs. Plum, which in the philosophy of that represents hope, that's your connection with the ground. So you're generating all your energy up from the ground, all the way up to there, to the spine. So now, if you relax those things, your body actually covers ground. You won't even be aware of it. Okay? So he got me thinking in so many different directions. Then the big question is, why was Kempo the way it was? Well, Mitose was not a guy that was really going to give things out. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've seen the documents, but he wrote me a letter saying that he wasn't going to teach. I'm the one that convinced him to start teaching. So what he taught me was concept, theories, and principles. And then he told me to go learn. The throwing arts. He took a piece of paper, I think you've heard this story, folded it up, unfolded it, handed it to me, asked me to fold it. Well, what do? You fold along the creases of the paper. He said, that's your body. He says, fold the paper. Then he said, go to your school, throw yourself. And if you look at the way the body moves, we have creases, the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, the hips. So the idea is to be observant. If you observe all of that, it's pretty simple, not too hard. Now, right. You don't mind me elaborating on this?
No, please.
Mitose, he was very close with a guy in Hawaii in the 40s. And that guy's name was Sei Kosho. You know who he was? He was actually the chosen one to head up Danzanryu, Korinkan Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
And Kufrath and Mitose were close in the 40s. Well, one time I asked Mitose, I says, had to do with throwing. I said, where did you learn your throwing? I expected him to say Okazaki. He looked at me and said, I know. What the hell does that mean? What do you mean you know? Well, a couple, 3 years later, I'm teaching at a AJGF convention, American Judo Jiu-Jitsu convention. And I overheard some people talking about Kempo. They're saying, oh, these Kempo guys, all they do is hit. So I made up my mind, all my demo was going to be throws. So I took one of the guys out and I just threw him around, okay? Kufrath was there. He was sitting there smiling. And I'm looking at him, Frank, and I'm thinking, I got to ask. I walked up, I said, Professor Kufrath, yeah, where did Mitose learn his throws? He said, he knew. That was the answer. Kufrath, a lot of these guys have practiced technique. If they understand that it's formed after natural laws, they're going to realize that. And they're going to realize no matter what body movement you make, you're making because you are following natural laws and principles of your own anatomy, yourself. Okay. Now, when I use the term Shochikubai, it's because that's what it is. Iron bamboo plum. Distance fighting, that's pine. You get in a tournament, 12 foot, From back foot to back foot, that's a 12-foot distance. That's white crane. That's a lot of the trias guys, they work a form called hakusuru, which is a white crane form.
Interesting.
Mitose was more Hokkien. That's monkey. He moved like an old man. We used to call old man posture. No, it wasn't. Hokkien. That's more of a bagua posture. It's like this. And if you stop and think about it, what the thing that Mitose really did with me is he taught me about those natural laws and principles. He made me think beyond what I was shown. Now, another thing, just so that your viewers understand this, I don't know if you heard of a guy named Roy Goldberg.
Yes, sir.
You see him, right? He does Daitaru, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, Roy, I got to ask him this question. You'll probably hear it. Roy's teacher was a guy named Kiyama. And Roy, who Kiyama comes to Takeda, which is where that was a teacher of Yui Shiba of Aikido. Well, Roy and I were having dinner one time in New York, okay? And I was talking about how Mitose was hard to understand. Mitose was. He didn't speak real good English. The concept and theory and the terminology I use, a lot of that's my terminology. I couldn't run around and tell everybody they're stupid, right? Well, Kiyama took Roy Goldberg out and he said, Roy, I teach you about Daitaru. So he took him to the ocean. He says, you watch wave. Watch wave. Roy said he left him there for 3 hours. Came back. Now, I didn't ask Roy what he learned, but I got a feeling I figured it out. It's not the wave. It's the current, what's underneath the wave that creates the wave. So when we do martial movement, you have to understand that where your movement begins is not from the extended hand. It's from what generates it. Those are lessons that Mitose taught. And later I saw the same thing from trias. It's kind of a trip. Now, why did I figure that out? I don't know. Maybe because I'm just a stupid Polak. I don't know. But yeah, a heck of a journey. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, sir, too, since we're going through this technical stuff, which I find fascinating and I think is very revealing also. Would you say, you mentioned that you knew at a moment in your time, you knew up to 280 katas. So I would ask, would you say that Kempo, it's a technique-based system or a kata-based system?
You're referring to what form of Kempo? Parker Kempo? Tracy Kempo?
I guess
yeah.
the original form of Kempo?
It's a technique-based system, but it's also kata-based. You have forms, and I think it's the martial artists need to form katas. Okay, some of the Kempo forms I learned: short one, long one, short two, long two, short three, long three, 4, 5, 6, down three. And now I'm getting a Tom Tui, that's more of a Tracy's form. Two-man set, finger moving, finger staff, spear set. And if it's called boxing set, it's not Tracy, that's Connors. So the technique format was something that was developed for belt promotion, also for understanding of basic movements. Yeah, I think if you took the Parker Kempo, a lot of it's based around 5 swords, right? Or 5-count chop, gunning hammers, or what they call the brute, okay? And so what people would do is they'd have a tendency to develop it. Now, where I think that comes from, is that what you want to know? I think it came from that book Mitose wrote, What is Self-Defense? Because there's techniques in there, right?
Right.
And I think what they did is, and God love them because they had to do something, they formulated techniques for promotion and movement. That book, What is Self-Defense? I had talked to the publisher. He's deceased now. The only reason those self-defense techniques were in that book is because of the insistence of the publisher to sell books. That wasn't the real book. The only thing you can see in that, so you have a wrist grab, boom, 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 and a kick. So somebody says wrist grab, kick, boom, take down, punch. That's another technique. So now you could say I bettered Kempo. Yeah, not really. Example of that, where does it come from? I'll bring up Ed Parker. Ed Parker, you wouldn't want to get hit with him. That guy, man, if he hits you, he's going to rock your world, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of systems developed the katas for that. Technique-based, yes. But I think that came through books such as what Mitose did, which is Chokimotobu did, Okasaki. So they figured if I developed this technique and this one, then I bettered it. So then people started learning it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just another way of looking at it, you know.
Right.
Does that answer that?
So you would say that, sorry?
No, I said, did that answer that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask. So then basically the foundation of Kempo should be then the understanding of movement, right? That will be
natural laws.
natural laws.
Kempo refers to that. It's a study of the right and left. Right hand physical, left spiritual morality. It's self-study. That's what it means. And the first usage of that word, Frank, was in 604 AD by a man named Prince Shotoko. And he developed the constitution for the Japanese on how they were going to govern themselves physically and spiritually. That constitution was called a Kempo. People don't know that. It means constitution. It means learning about the self. So oh God, I could create a problem with this one. Your best style is within you, because you are the one that we have to learn about. Am I right?
Right.
Like Mr. Soto, I know, dude. You're no spring chicken. You know, I wouldn't want to get hit by you. Okay, but you can look at some of the students and you're going to say, well, he needs to work this. You got to build him up. That's all. And that's how Mitose dealt with things. And in a lot of ways, Trias dealt with the same thing. You know, so yeah.
Nice. So if somebody asks you, sir, what is Kempo? What would be your answer, sir?
Self-study, self-awareness, humbleness, and to remain a student. The second someone calls themselves something better than what they think they are, they just died. Myself, a lot of people that will criticize me of some of the concepts and theories I teach. Like I told you, I do a FaceTime thing. And somebody says, why are you teaching that? I said, why not? Well, if they get that, then what are you going to do? I have to learn more. That's good. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Now, this is Mitose's words. Struggle is the law of growth. Growth continues until what we call death. There is no death in nature, only recycling and movement. And he's right. When you seek wisdom, look for similarities, ignore the nitpickers. Now, this is word for word. It's not wisdom they seek. Rather, they seek to attract attention away from wisdom and to themselves by creating artificial arguments and disharmony. Now, that's right on, right there, man. The second you become too big for your britches, you need to go away. And the worst thing is that when we as teachers start looking at ourselves and taking ourselves too seriously, that's when we screw up. And just like Mitose explained to me about bowing, he said, why do you bow? He said, it's the most important thing you can practice. What's more important, for the teacher to bow to the student or the student to bow to the teacher? It's more important that the teacher bows to the student, because the teacher has already studied corruption. He's learning. So why do you learn 280 katas? Because they're there. And that's why. You know, if you're doing Chanji, Dangun, Dosanwan, Yoku, Jungun, all those forms, or whatever forms you're doing, learn them. They're in front of you. Learn it. Yep.
Nice. We have more people saying hello. Mike Blackwell. Good afternoon, Master Soto and Hanshi Juchnik. Hey, hello, Mike. Let's see. Salvador Becerra says he has two comments. First, he says, do you have any schools in the Los Angeles area, any Kosho Ryu Kempo schools? And did you learn other styles of Kempo or Kenpo? Example, traditional Okinawan Kempo? He's asking.
Okay, so his questions were what again?
Have you learned other styles of Kempo, like the traditional Okinawan Kempo? And is there any schools, Kosho Ryu schools in the LA area?
Yes, the thing is, you can you hear what I'm saying right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One thing you want to do is take my phone number and call me. Okay. It's you can put that out, Frank, 916-308-2606. And I'll research for them. Also, you had some other people that were watching. Nathaniel Ortega, tell him to call me. Okay, Nathaniel, call me, dude. Okay.
He's watching.
And Blackwell, tell him, hey, he's a good man. See if he's contacted Phil yet. But all of the different areas, you have any form of Kempo, it's all going to be good. You just want to look at the style of Kosho Ryu in LA. I've got guys that work Kosho Ryu in LA, but there's sometimes people will claim things. That's why I want you to call me. My number is 916-308-2606. If you can call me, we'll talk, and yeah. And if not that, I can direct you towards different things. But you should try, especially in LA, try to come to my gathering. I'll be in Reno this year. Reno in October, the weekend of October 9th and 10th, that weekend. And you'll see everything with it. Okay.
Yeah, people should go to the gathering. It's a great experience. You get to learn a lot, and you get to talk to so many different martial artists, so many different masters and people there. It's unbelievable. I've been there like 3 or 4 times, so I think 4 times already, and it's just amazing.
And Frank, some of the guys are going to be there. Jerry Piddington will be there.
Wow.
He, in my opinion, is one of the greatest tournament fighters of all time. You met him, right?
Yes, sir. I did.
Ron Martini will be there. Not too many fighters as good as Ron. I hope Mr. Wallace shows up. We'll see. But there's one guy, Terry Dow, will be there. So you get to meet these guys. The thing is, you talk, you break bread, you communicate. And, Sam Chen will be there. Ili Chuan, Kung Fu. Not too many internal stylists as good as Sam Chen. Bernard Langen, Bagua, Xingyi, Tai Chi. Bernie is a collector of martial art knowledge, and he's a great healer. There'll be healers there too. So Bernie, Sam Chen, Roy Goldberg should be there. Daitaru. If you want to get thrown, touch him. You're going to go bye-bye. Okay? And then tell me if it was the wave or the current. I think it was the current. Roy's very good, man. He's way up there. So all these martial artists, but what you do is Filipino artists. Harry Green will be there. Hopefully Carlito Banjak. They're from the Kamalas lines.
Right.
There'll be some people from the priestess lineage will be there as well. And Cañete, guys from Cañete will be there. Yao Yan, which is a Filipino method of kickboxing. So all of these different artists will be there, man. And it's you go and you talk. My students know me. I'll be upset with them if they don't go and converse with everybody. And if I can get the great Frank Soto to show up and we'll get him gone, he'd be there. Yeah. And so all of these guys, okay? So you go, you talk, you work, you break bread, and you get time to work. Yep. And Bill Owens will be there. Bill Owens, technically, to me, is the guy that started capoeira in the United States. He's also top Kempo guy, top martial artist.
Right.
He studied from people like the Costco's, different practitioners. He's also one of the teachers of a couple of well-known martial artists. I won't mention, but no, Bill Owens is a class act. You met him, right? Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great guy, man. Great guy. And yeah. So anyway, you can see all these people. You can see them there. Yep. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's a good time.
We got more comments here. Let's see. Nathaniel says, this is a great moment for all of the people watching your section, Maestro Soto. Thank you. Hanshi teaches history like nobody else does. I will just sit down and watch it and listen to him for hours. When you asked Hanshi about katas, I thought he was going to say that Kempo, it's a study. Well, he did say it. The study of the natural laws. And then he says, I hear it. So he heard you, sir.
Yep, it is the study of natural law. That's what it is.
Yeah, I guess he's going to give you a call. Mike Blackwell says, the study of natural laws to know yourself and to be a perpetual student. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So, it's quite interesting. I don't think sometimes we question the new generations that don't understand and that we were not there. I mean, I started martial arts at the age of 12 back in 84.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've been in the arts for many years, but it's not that much. If we go back in history, it's just a blink, right? It's nothing. So to know all these legends, right? They're now legends. Could you share to people a little bit how it was to be able to interact with these masters, to learn from them, to travel with them, to share, the table with them, meal, whatever, just how was it? Because we can't see that. And sometimes we even dare to question the decisions they made 40, 50 years ago, and we don't even understand the context, right?
Yeah, right. Well, how is it? Frank, sometimes I ask myself why. I think it's got to do with connections. First of all, I think there was I've always been a seeker. Always been a seeker. I always look for knowledge, look for information. And I have to say that was my parents that did that for me. They taught me to respect your elders. And I do. That little journey I went learning Kabbalahs. I was very fortunate to be able to study with ancient Kabbalahs. And I think when you have an open heart, people know it. People see it. All of these different teachers that I've known over the years, different example, Ming Lum, Mike Young, these two, I miss them to death. People like Al Novak, great martial artists. And you get to meet them, you show respect, and then a lot of it is by learning what they know. You learn some of the information they learn, doors open up for you. The idea is not to close doors. The idea is to open them. The gathering is something to where I don't close doors. I open them. I make sure everybody knows that. And as time goes on, that spreads. If you set yourself up to be a king, guess what? You're really the emperor with no clothes. Everybody sees through it. If you set yourself up to be the forever student, guess what? You will constantly keep learning. You constantly keep growing. I've had several experiences with different martial artists. Been very lucky. I brought up Ming Lum, Mike Young. For instance, the gathering this year, we just hope because of what's going on, the lion dancers from San Francisco come out every year. They were students of the great Arthur Lee, and some studied from Wong Chak Man. The Ming Lum's son, Gordon Lum, is the one that brings them out to the gathering every year. Those guys are top Kung Fu practitioners. Okay. You have experiences. You can, and everybody knows this. When you see a martial artist that's full of themselves, it shows. It shows. I hope people don't think that of me. If they do, just understand something. Don't bug me because I might be learning a form. Okay. I'm still learning, man. I'll never stop. The styles, uh, they're all good. Tria's created such great martial artists, and all of his top people, I've got the ultimate respect for. And you've got to be always able to admit when you didn't do as well as you think you did. Raymond Priest is an example of that with me. It's a guy, he probably still doesn't know it. Won't believe it. One of Tria's guys. Tria's had some great people. Robert Bowles, originally Abel was gone now. Pete Rubino, they would come out to the gathering here. Here's Shuriru. And Shuriru has a lot of kosher within it. A lot of people don't understand that. And the old Tria's guys, they're fighters. You don't mess with them. I was in Phoenix at a Tria's. I think, Frank, we're trying to get you to go to that thing. Is at in Phoenix, Phoenix Memorial Tournament,
Right.
Tria's. And I was there, and man, I thought I died and went to heaven. I'm looking at some darn good karate. Beautiful stuff. They're Shuriru guys. And one guy was walking by me, and he says, "Mr. Juchnik?" I says, "Is it who I think it is?" He says, "Yeah." Somebody just came up. Who was that?
What's that?
Oh, no. So anyway, it was John Hutchcraft. And John Hutchcraft, I looked at myself, "I've been looking for you, John." He said, "Why?" I said, "You knocked me out." He said, "I did?" "Oh, yeah." I had to do a kumite with him, the Tria's thing, and it was pre-designated point sparring. That means if you hit the guy and you miss it, you have to point your target. If you miss the target, they get the point. If you hit the target and would not have killed your opponent, he gets the point. So you're really setting up, right? Well, this sucker Hutchcraft hit me. And I remember seeing white, you're not knocked out. Nobody really knows, but you're hoping that you could see again. So it came back. He says, "I knocked you out." "Yeah, you did, John." He said, "That why you kept hitting me afterwards?" "Yep." And anyway, I got to talking. There's an interview on the internet with me talking to John. Good martial artist, man. They're good. You have to be able to acknowledge who you are and who you aren't. And you have to improve, always. And that's what, so when we do stuff, that's important. But no, Hutchcraft's a good man. All of those guys, they're good. Bowles, Rubino, all those guys are good martial artists. They came from good stock. Yep. So anyway, I'm looking at this. What do you got playing now?
That's the your YouTube channel, sir.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right. Anyway, so when you're learning, you always have to remember to always keep learning. I'll bring up the Mitose thing. I was always confused about his religious beliefs. Okay. And he was a Buddhist, Presbyterian, a Mormon. He was very Catholic. And that confused me too. Basically, he was telling me, you look at the similarities. You acknowledge the similarities. You look at Shotokan. You look at Taekwondo. Taekwondo is a good art. You look at Tangsudo. You look at Shuri. You look at, they all have good elements. The idea is you look for the good. You look for the good. And you study what's there. And when a teacher tells you that something's no good, no, it's all good. There's a human being that's attached to that who's learning. And what you do is you pay respect for the human being. Mitose, I never saw him where he didn't come up, grab my hand, put it to his forehead. He knew everything about you. And those lessons are very important. And you got to learn natural laws. You know, told me the best place to learn Kempo. He said, go for a walk in the woods and just look. You're going to see decay, life process. That's Kempo, man. Kempo is study. It's not what style or what footwork you're in or all that. That's silly. And you study to study. That's all good. Japanese, you say "Domo arigato gozaimasu." Chinese, ni hao ma. Or if you do an Indonesian, a guy named Willem showed me this. Apa boleh maaf, maaf goblok means excuse me, I'm stupid. That's Bahasa. You learn them all. So good. Learning's good. And you got to be humble. Yep.
We have some comments and questions here. Pure Technique says, Hanshi, is there any documentary to watch about Robert Trias?
Documentary to do what now? I'm sorry.
To learn about Robert Trias, a documentary about.
Oh my God, yeah. Robert Trias is he was the first man to open up a school in the United States. It was in 1949. His organization at one time had 600,000 members in it. Very
Wow.
big in Trias is big, and there's a lot of documentation on Trias. Robert Trias, you name it, every year of his life, he'd go back to Okinawa, Japan, and every year that he went, he would always stop over to Hawaii and see Tamashiyama. And Trias would always learn. He was always studying. Documentation, oh my God. Yeah, I remember when I was doing Kempo and I was with Mitose when I first met Trias, and which was kind of, he instructed one of his top people to show me a kata called Danensho. And it's actually a Shinyi form. So the Shuriru is Shinyi based. A lot of people don't know that. That's okay. And I actually did a Zoom class on the Danensho. And the student that he had actually flew back east or like Nebraska to learn this form. Then Trias wanted to see me. He was having me checked out. I spent, okay, now documentation, how can you not find documentation on Trias? Probably the most well-known martial arts, the United States Karate Association. He was the founder of it. And Robert Trias was great. I remember one incident I had with Trias. And when I was in Phoenix the first time I met him, he wanted to have lunch with me. Okay. And first of all, I listened to him talk about martial arts. That guy knew everything about systems, styles, especially Okinawan Japanese. He knew about Kosho. He knew all about the Shochiko by Seal. He knew that. If you looked at his book, The Hand is My Sword, that's what you see in the background. Looked at a couple of books I published. He has a Kosho symbol on his chest. That was taken in the 40s. Okay, people don't understand those connections. Now, Trias, I'll never forget this moment with him. I was sitting with him at lunch, and he said, Bruce, you ever notice when I tell people to jump, they ask me how high? And I'm going, oh my God, big ego, right? He says, I'm going to tell you why. Because they know that I love them more than they could ever love me. I went, wow. That was Trias. He loved his people. He loved the arts. And that love is what built the USKA, made it great.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Michael Lee Martin says, thank you for sharing and teaching us. Good to see you, Sensei. Salud, maestros. Saludos. Pure Technique says, just like the martial arts, you look at the similarities. I studied different religions too, sir. Very wise. Thank you. Well, sir, we are out of time. We've been here for an hour. But before we go, sir, is there any message that you want to share with our audience, with the viewers? Anything you want to conclude with, please?
Yes. One, hope to see you at that gathering. Two, remember what I said about Trias. The key word is love. You want to love the arts and love yourself, not to turn off from the arts. They're all great, and the teachers that came before us, very important. That's it.
Thank you very much, sir. So if anybody wants to get in and communicate, get in touch with Hanshi, with Maestro Hanshi Bruce Juchnik, please. He already says that give him a call. Here is the number, 916-308-2606. If you're interested in learning or getting some FaceTime with him, going to the gathering, just call him. He's a very, very nice man, as you can see here, and he will answer your calls. He does that all the time. We all call him to say hello and stuff. So thank you very much, sir. This was great. And thanks to everybody that watched this today. Mike Bagwell says, you both are loved as well. Hanshi and Master Soto, thank you. And please call me Frank. Okay. Nathaniel says, we had the honor to have Hanshi Juchnik several times in Puerto Rico when I used to live there, and it was incredible. Now I hope that Hanshi can come to Hawaii at some moment. In Puerto Rico, I was his uke. It was painful, but it was I learned a lot with a lot of teaching. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Take care, everybody. And remember, tomorrow we'll have in Café y Artes Marciales, we have, who's coming in tomorrow? Let's see. Tomorrow, Dios mío. Okay, and Friday, we have Maestro Roy McDonald from Jersey Island. And tomorrow we have Jose Antonio Olmo from Ciudad de Mexico. So don't miss it. And on Saturday, we have Jose Miguel Morales from Chile coming into the show. So thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a great day. And bye-bye.